Dravaxis Prime was the largest space station in the Orion Alliance. Built between stars, it was home to diplomats, warriors, and leaders from hundreds of alien worlds. Among them was Princess Leora, a strong-willed leader from the planet Tarian IV. She was smart, confident, and trained in politics and martial arts since childhood. One morning, Leora stood at the landing bay waiting for her new bodyguard. Her last one had been injured during a skirmish, and the Alliance had promised to send their best replacement. Leora expected a huge armored warrior, maybe a four-armed Delvan brute or a cybernetic soldier. Instead, small human stepped off the transport ship. He was not what she imagined at all. No shining armor, no weapons visible, just a short man with calm eyes wearing a simple black suit. He looked more like an assistant than a warrior. Leora blinked. "You're too small to be my bodyguard," she said aloud. The man walked closer and gave a polite bow. "I'm Kellen Eris, assigned by the Orion Alliance Security Council. Full clearance, trained in human strategic defense, tactical evasion, and crisis management." "You don't look like a soldier," Leora said, crossing her arms. "I'm not a soldier," Kellen replied. "I'm your shield." She frowned, not impressed. "Have you even seen real battle?" "Yes," he said calmly. "But I prefer." To avoid one, Leora turned and walked away. "We'll see how long you last." Later that day, Leora attended a diplomatic event inside the Unity Chamber. Ambassadors from 5 systems gathered to discuss a trade agreement. Kellen stood silently. At the back, eyes always moving, scanning the room. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A soft humming noise filled the air. Everyone looked around, confused. Then a small drone zipped through the ceiling vent. Heading straight for Leora, before anyone else could react, Kellen moved. Fast, he pulled a thin device from his sleeve and threw it toward the drone. The object split midair, forming a glowing net. The drone hit the net and sparked wildly before crashing to the ground. The room froze in silence. Guards rushed in. "Was that assassination drone?" Kellen said, kneeling beside the wrecked machine, highly advanced. "Tag. Someone wants her captured or dead." Leora stared at him. "How did you move so fast?" "I was watching the vents," he said. "I don't wait for orders when a life is in danger." She didn't answer, but for the first time, she looked at him with new eyes. Later, in her private chambers, Leora sat across from Kellen. "I underestimated you," she said slowly. "That's normal," Kellen replied. "Humans are smaller than most alien races. But size isn't everything. You knew it was coming, didn't you?" "I guessed," he said. There were signs. Broken sensor near the chamber. Glitch in the entrance logs. "Someone inside Dravaxis is working with outside attackers." She frowned. "A traitor?" Possibly. Kellen nodded. "But I'll find out." Leora leaned back. "You're different. Not like other guards. Not here to show strength." He said, "I'm here to keep you alive." There was silence for a moment. Then she smiled, just a little. "Maybe you were the right person." Over the next few days, Kellen proved himself again and again. He reprogrammed her security drones to scan for cloaked tech. He found a hidden camera in her private meeting room. He even predicted a sabotage attempt on her ship and stopped it by rerouting its power systems. The station staff began to talk. Some said the human was part machine. Others said he used old Earth tricks that no one understood. Leora just watched. Every time she expected him to fail, he didn't. One night, while walking with Kellen through the station gardens, she asked, "Why do you care so much? You're not from the Alliance. Earth isn't even a full member yet." Kellen looked up at the stars. "I care because humans survived by being clever," he said. "Not by being the biggest. Not by fighting every battle. But by knowing when to move, when to hide, and when to strike." Leora nodded slowly. "When to protect someone who didn't believe in you?" Oh, Kellen smiled. "Exactly." As they walked through the quiet garden, neither noticed a small blinking device deep in the soil. A hidden signal activated, sending a message across space. Phase 1 failed. Prepare Phase 2. The real danger was only beginning. For the next few days, everything seemed calm on Drovax's Prime. Princess Leora continued her diplomatic duties, and Kellen stayed by her side like a silent shadow. Many people still looked at him with doubt. A human? So small? So calm? But Leora had stopped doubting. She had seen him act faster than anyone else. He didn't need to shout or threaten. He just watched, listened, and acted at the right time. Still, something didn't feel right. Kellen had been checking the station's systems every night, found strange signals in the data lines. Someone was trying to access restricted areas of the network areas connected to the princess's security. Every time he blocked one, another would appear somewhere else, like a shadow shifting through the wires. On the third night, Kellen called Leora to the control room. It was a quiet chamber on the upper deck, far from the noise of the main halls. He pointed to a hologram. "This line of code doesn't belong to the station," he said. "It's hidden deep like a virus. Someone is preparing to take control." "Of what?" Leora asked. "Of you?" Kellen said. She frowned. "They want to kidnap me?" "Yes. Not kill. Kidnap." Quietly. That drone from before it was non-lethal. It had a tranquilizer. Leora walked around the table, her expression serious. "But who would do that?" "No one gains from harming me. That's what they want." "You to think," Kellen replied. "But there's a group called the Hollow Flame. Not much is known. They don't use ships or weapons like normal enemies. They use systems, codes, false messages. They burn from within." "And now they're here," she whispered. Kellen nodded. "I'm sure of it." The next day, a group of ambassadors arrived for a private council. They were from the Saren cluster, known for their peacekeeping missions. But something about them made Kellen uneasy. He stayed quiet, but watched every move they made. During the meeting, one of the ambassadors handed Leora a data crystal. "Contains peace terms," the tall alien said. Kellen's eyes narrowed. He stepped forward. "Don't insert that crystal." Leora looked surprised. "Why not?" Kellen scanned the crystal with his handheld device. A red light flashed. "It's not a message. It's a trigger." Suddenly alarms blared. The chamber doors locked. Gas started hissing from the vents. The ambassadors changed form. They weren't diplomats. They were hollow flame agents using advanced holograms. Kellen grabbed Leora and pushed her behind a wall panel. "Stay down," he shouted, pulling out a pulse emitter from his jacket. The device sent out a high-frequency wave that disrupted the holograms. The fake ambassadors glitched, revealing armored figures beneath. He charged. Kellen rolled, tapped his wrist, and activated a shield field around Leora. Then, with calm precision, he used his knowledge of the chamber to trap the attackers closing floor plates, locking magnetic seals, and even turning the room's lights into a blinding flash dot. Under 2 minutes, it was over. The attackers were trapped. Leora was safe. Security rushed in and took the prisoners away. One of them, a tall figure with glowing red eyes, stared at Kellen as they dragged him out. "This isn't over, human," the figure said. "The flame never dies." Kellen didn't answer. He just watched him leave. Back in her quarters, Leora sat on the edge of her bed trying to understand what just happened. "You've saved my life again," she said. Kellen stood near the door. "That's my job." "No," she said. "It's more than that. You saw something no one else did, not even me." He looked at her. "Humans come from a dangerous world. Earth is full of surprises. To survive there, we learn to see danger before it arrives." She smiled. "You say that like it's a gift." "It is," he replied. "But it also means I never truly rest." Leora paused, then stood. "Then maybe it's time you stop watching from the shadows. You've earned more than silence." Kellen looked uncertain. "What do you mean?" "Mean," she said, "you're not just my guard anymore. You're part of this mission, part of this fight." For the first time, Kellen nodded with pride. That night, a hollow flame activated their next phase. From a hidden chamber deep inside the station, a strange figure tapped into the main control core. He wore a long black cloak and a silver mask. In front of him was a screen showing Leora's face. He pressed a button. The lights on half the station flickered. Backup power systems failed. Oxygen control units began to act strange. Prime systems broke down quietly, slowly. People panicked. And at the center of it all, the masked figure smiled. Let's see how the human deals with this. Back in the upper chamber, Kellen was already moving. He accessed an old manual system built by early Earth engineers when the station was first created. Most aliens had forgotten it existed. But Kellen had studied everything. I'm going to take control of the fallback systems, he told Leora. You can do that? She asked. Yes, he said, because they're human-built, and humans always leave a back door, he smiled. And in that moment, Leora knew, this man, this small. Man was their greatest hope. The station was falling apart. Dravox's prime, once a shining symbol of peace, was now half in darkness. Lights flickered in long hallways. Some air systems failed. Many doors refused to open. Panic spread quickly among the citizens and diplomats. Living there? But Kellen didn't panic. He moved with calm purpose through the shadows, guiding Princess Leora toward a backup command, Rumen, old place few remembered. Built by early human engineers, it still worked even when the main systems failed. Will this room really help us? Leora asked, walking beside him. It will, Kellen said. Because the hollow flame doesn't know it exists. It gives us an advantage. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was a dusty control room with ancient Earth tech manual. Levers, glowing buttons, and screens showing static. Leora looked around. It's so... old? Old but strong, Kellen replied. Sometimes the past is the best shield. He started pressing buttons and flipping switches. Lights on the screen returned one by one. Slowly, power began flowing to nearby systems. Hours passed. Kellen worked non-stop. Liora sat nearby, watching. She saw the tired lines under his eyes, the way he focused without blinking. There were no guards helping him. No one gave him orders. He was just one human, small and alone against an invisible enemy. Can I ask something? Leora said at last. Of course, Kellen replied without looking up. Why did you leave the human army? Paused. Then slowly answered, because. I was told to do something I believed was wrong. I refused. I was discharged. Leora was silent for a moment, so they punished you for doing the right thing. Kellen looked at her. As they said, I disobeyed orders, but I still sleep well at night. She nodded. That's why you're different. You don't follow power. You follow truth. He gave a small smile. That's the idea. Suddenly the screen flashed red. ALERT. Royal ID located. Unauthorized. Movement detected? Kellen's smile faded. He jumped to his feet. They've found us, he said. No, Leora said. They found me. You said they want me alive? Kellen's hands flew over the controls. They're trying to open the floor panels near us. They'll come from below. He pulled a long metal stick from the wall and twisted, it activating a magnetic seal. They won't get in here easily, he said. But Leora stood firm. What if I leave? What if I let them take me just for a moment? That would distract them. Kellen stared at her. Never. You are not a pawn. You're the queen. But people are dying outside. Maybe I can stop this, she argued. He shook his head. If you're gone, they win. Hope dies. She sighed. Then what do we do? Kellen turned toward a side panel. We fight. But in our way. While others expected violence, Kellen used cleverness. He activated old security bots from the early station era, small, floating spheres with shock fields. Most had been forgotten, but they still worked. He sent them down the halls not to attack, but to map out where the hollow flame was hiding. The map filled quickly. There he pointed. They're using the old power grid tunnels. I can trap them inside. Leora looked surprised. You can do that? Yes, he said. But I'll need to go there myself. The main system can't reach that deep. Coming with you, Leora said. No, Kellen replied. You're the target. They see you, they'll act fast. Let me do this alone. Leora hesitated. She trusted him now. Fine, she said. But promise me something. What? Come back. Kellen nodded once. Always. He moved fast through the tunnels. The air was thick and warm. Pipes hissed with steam. Shadows moved. Sounds echoed strangely. But Kellen didn't stop. He found the control hub deep below the station, a small room filled with blinking lights and silent figures in black cloaks. Hollow flame agents. They were watching screens and typing commands. Kellen crept closer and pulled a tiny device from his belt. A signal jammer. He pressed it. The lights blinked. Screens went dark. Confused voices filled the room. Then Kellen stepped out. Hello there, he said calmly. The agents turned, shocked. You, one shouted. You're alone? Kellen smiled. That's all I need. They rushed him, but Kellen wasn't there to fight. He used every part of the room, pulling wires, opening vents, triggering emergency floods. Water burst from a pipe. Steam blinded their eyes. Electricity surged through the floor. One by one, the agents fell, trapped, shocked, or knocked out. It wasn't war. It was strategy. Kellen stood over the last conscious one. You failed, he said. The agent gasped. The flame never dies. Kellen looked at him, but it can be blown out. He pressed one last button and locked the room from the inside. Back in the command center, Leora watched the station lights come back one by one. Air systems restarted. Doors opened. People began to breathe again. Kellen did it, she whispered. He returned shortly after, soaked, tired but alive. You're safe, he said to her. You're hurt, she said, pointing to a burn on his arm. I've had worse, he replied with a grin. She walked up to him and looked into his eyes. I was wrong when I said you were too small to be my bodyguard. Kellen raised an eyebrow. Oh, you're the biggest person I know, she said softly. He laughed. A rare sound. Let's hope the enemy never figures that out. Together, they walked toward the center of the station, ready to face whatever came next. The station had power again. Lights returned. Air systems worked. Security teams started checking every hallway, looking for traps and intruders. People slowly left their shelters. There was fear in their eyes, but also hope. That hope had won. Name behind it, Kellen? Princess Leora stood in the high command chamber, now fully active again. Engineers and officers worked around her, speaking into headsets, fixing broken systems, and scanning data. Leora looked calm on the outside, but inside she was thinking fast. She knew the hollow flame was not finished, and so did Kellen. He stood beside her, his arms crossed, his eyes fixed on the main display screen. It showed the layout of Drovax's Prime. With red dots blinking all over the outer systems, they're still in control of the communications tower, Kellen said. And now, they're trying to access the station's memory vault. Leora's eyes widened. Why the vault, Kellen? Turn to her, because it holds mental backups of leaders. Important data. If the flame erases or rewrites those, they can destroy entire governments without firing a shot. Leora spoke into the command mic. Security teams, focus on Section 9 memory vault access. Don't let them near it, Kellen added. And block long-range transmissions. If they upload the virus to other systems, we lose more than this station. We lose the Alliance itself. Everyone in the room understood the danger now. This wasn't just about saving a princess. It was about saving the future. That night, the hollow flame made its boldest move. All over the station, screens went dark. Messages appeared in bright red letters. The flame burns all. The leaders will forget. The galaxy will kneel. Then, the attack began. Dozens of small drone ships, previously cloaked in orbit, activated at once. They flew toward the memory vault chamber like angry insects. Some security turrets managed to hit a few, but many got through. Inside the chamber, robotic arms began working on their own, pulling out memory cores, connecting to the network. And preparing to launch the virus, Kellen was already on the move. He had no army, no ship, but he had a plan. Kellen entered the lower tech bay, where old Earth-built drones and repair bots were stored. Most people forgot they even existed, but Kellen didn't. He activated a special program from a device on his wrist. "Wake up, boys," he whispered. "We've got work to do." The lights on 10 rusted drones blinked green. They hovered into the air, their old engines making a soft buzzing sound. Kellen sent them flying straight toward the vault. At the same time, he grabbed his portable shield belt and a data spike. Then he ran. Leora followed him to the exit of the chamber. "Let me come with you." "No," he said. "If you're captured or hurt, they win." "I don't want to sit and watch," she said. "You won't. I need you in command. If I stop them, someone must bring the systems back. That's you." She nodded. "Then go and stop them." Inside the vault, chaos had begun. Drones buzzed. Through the air, flames sparked. Broken data cores fell to the ground. The hollow flame agents worked fast, setting up the virus device in the center. Then the old Earth drones arrived. Kellen's machines were slower, but smarter. They didn't attack head-on. Instead, they used magnetic bursts to disable enemy drones, dropped smoke screens to confuse the intruders, and used old tunnel maps to appear from unexpected places. Kellen entered last. The hollow flame leader stood. By the virus device, a tall figure in a black mask, with glowing circuits across his arms. "You again?" the leader said. "One small human." "One is enough," Kellen said. The leader laughed. "You can't stop us. We have the future in our hands." Kellen raised the data spike. "No, you have a fake future, and I'm about to rewrite it." The battle was not about fists or guns. It was a battle of signals and systems. Kellen moved fast. He jumped between cover, dodged a drone's laser, and inserted his spike into the virus core. Sparks flew. The virus began to fail. The system tried to fight back, but Kellen was ready. He had copied part of the virus earlier and used its own logic to reverse it. Suddenly, the message on every screen changed. Memory protected. System secured. The hollow flame agents looked around in panic. Their leader growled. "No, impossible." Kellen stepped forward. Humans were built for impossible. He tapped his wrist again. One last old drone flew in. It carried a small EMP bomb just strong enough to knock out all machines in the room. Kellen ducked. The blast fired. When the light faded, the drones were down. The virus was gone, and the hollow flame lay unconscious. Later in the central chamber, Leora welcomed Kellen back. He had burns on his jacket, dust on his face, but victory in his eyes. "You did it," she said, smiling. "We did it," he replied. "Your order stopped. The network spread." She shook her head. "But without you, there would be no station left." The engineers nearby clapped softly. Even the station commander bowed his head toward the human. Leora turned to the crowd. "It'd be known the smallest man saved the largest station. It's not with size, but with skill. Not with war, but with will." Kellen looked away, shy from the attention, but in his heart, felt proud. Somewhere far across space, a signal from the failed attack reached a hidden base. A voice in the shadows whispered, "The flame failed, but the match still burns. Begin. Phase 3. And so, the story was not over, but neither was Kellen's mission. For a short time, Dravax's Prime was peaceful again. The lights stayed on. The memory vault was safe. The hollow flame agents who had attacked were in custody. People smiled as they walked through the halls. Children played. Shops reopened, but Kellen was not at peace. He sat alone in a quiet observation room, looking out into space. His eyes followed the stars, but his mind was far away. Princess Leora entered the room. "You saved everyone, Kellen," she said gently. "Why do you look worried?" He turned to her, serious, because this wasn't their final move. The way they attacked, it was too careful, too calculated. They lost, but it felt like a distraction. Leora sat beside him. "A distraction from what?" Kellen spoke quietly. "Something worse. Something still coming." Just then, his wrist. Communicator blinked red. He tapped it, and a shaky voice came through. "This is Captain Wren of the Sentinel. We've found the source. The Hollow Flame has a cloaked ship, orbiting Dravaxis. It's not moving, but it's doing something to our signal array." The message cut off. Kellen stood up instantly. "There. Jamming the station." Again, Leora stood as well. "Why?" Kellen answered. "Because they want to release something from that ship. A mind virus. This time not just for you, but for the whole council." Leora's face went cold. "Can they do that from orbit?" Kellen said. "If the virus signal reaches the council's memory archives, thousands of leaders across the galaxy will lose their thoughts. Will forget who they are. The flame will rewrite them into puppets," Nora whispered. "Then we must stop it." The next hour was full of action. Kellen called the command center. Engineers tried to scan for the cloaked ship, but the signal was too well hidden. Normal sensors failed, so Kellen used something different. Old Earth tech. A gravitational echo scanner. It didn't search with light or heat. Looked for tiny pulls in space. He found it. "There," he said, pointing to the edge of the screen. "Ship the size of a moon, sitting just outside the radar range." The station commander looked at him in shock. "We have no warships available." "No strike team," Kellen replied. "Then I'll go alone." Leora stepped forward. "Not without me." "No," Kellen said firmly. "You're too important. If something happens to you, the whole alliance will lose its future." She stared at him, then gave a small nod. "Then promise me you'll come back." "I always do," Kellen said, and gave her a calm smile. Kellen suited up in a special stealth EVA suit, black with thin metal lines and silent thrusters. It wasn't strong like power armor, but it was made for speed and invisibility. It was designed by humans for missions like this, missions where survival meant outsmarting the enemy. He carried no gun, just a data spike. 2 jammers and 1 small EMP bomb he launched from the outer bay of Dravaxis. Flying like a shadow between stars, the hollow flame ship looked like a floating temple dark. Massive, with sharp edges and glowing red lights. No windows, no noise, just silence. Kellen attached to the surface and found a small hatch. He hacked it using the virus code he copied earlier from the memory vault. It opened. He slipped inside. Inside of the ship was cold and silent. The walls pulsed with strange lights. Machines hummed softly and red wires ran across the floors like veins. Kellen moved carefully. Staying in the shadows, he reached the central chamber, where he saw a giant core glowing with strange symbols. It was the virus generator. Next to it stood the leader of the hollow flame, no longer wearing a mask. His face was pale, with silver eyes and metal patterns across his skin. He wasn't fully human. He'd become part machine. "We knew you'd." "Come," the leader said. "You humans always rush in." Kellen didn't blink. "You talk too much." The leader laughed. "This virus will rewrite minds across the stars. Your station will fall. Your council will forget everything. You can't stop it." Kellen took a step forward. "Actually, I already did." He tapped his wrist. Outside the ship, a signal burst from a hidden satellite one Kellen had placed earlier. It blocked the virus transmission. The leader's smile faded. "You tricked me," he said. "No," Kellen replied. "I outthought you." The leader roared and charged. But Kellen was faster, jumped, rolled, and attached the EMP bomb too. The virus core, the room shook. "Goodbye," Kellen whispered, and activated the EMP. A bright blue light flashed. Systems failed. The virus core melted. Ship groaned as power collapsed. Back on Dravaxis, the red alert ended. The station was safe. The signal was gone. Leora stood in the command center, eyes fixed on the display. There was no sign of Kellen. She felt her chest tighten. "Please come back," she whispered then. The outer bay door opened. Kellen floated in his suit damaged. His helmet cracked, but he was alive. Leora ran to him. "Told you I would," Kellen said, breathing hard. "You saved the galaxy." She said. "Just another day," he replied with a tired smile. Everyone in the room cheered. Some clapped. Some even cried. But Leora just looked at him. "You're not small," she said. "You're the biggest hero I've ever known." Kellen shrugged. "Don't tell the others. I like being underestimated." They laughed together, while the stars outside shined brighter than ever. The station Drovax's prime was alive again. People filled the halls with smiles, not fear. Lights shined bright. Trade ships docked and departed. For the first time in weeks, the station felt safe. And at the center of it all was a quiet human named Kellen. He had no title, no medals, and no armor. But everyone knew his name. Children pointed at him when he walked past. Guards saluted him. Engineers offered him gifts. Some even called him the quiet giant. But Kellen didn't want attention. He just wanted to go back to work. Princess Leora stood before the Grand Council, which had just arrived from across the stars. Leaders from every major system had gathered to hear what happened. Tall creatures, with glowing eyes, scaled advisors. Even a floating jelly being all waited for her words. She wore royal blue with the symbol of Tarion IV shining on her shoulder. Calm, confident, and proud, she spoke clearly. "A few days ago, we were attacked by a powerful enemy, one that used fear, silence, and shadows. They wanted to erase minds, rewrite leaders, and break the unity we built, but they failed. What? Because of our weapons, not because of our walls. They failed because of one man, a man many thought too small, too soft, too human. But he stood taller than any of us when it mattered most." She turned to Kellen, who stood quietly at the side. "I once told him, 'You're too small to be my bodyguard.' I was wrong. He wasn't just a bodyguard. He was our protector. He's the reason we are all standing here today." There was silence. Then the entire council stood. One by one, they bowed their heads toward Kellen. Even the coldest leaders showed respect. Kellen shifted on his feet, uncomfortable. He gave a small nod and whispered, "Thank you." Later, Leora found him in the garden dome, the same quiet place where they had once walked under false stars. Kellen was looking at the trees. Real earth trees grown in space with care. Leora smiled, trying to hide again. Kellen replied, softly, just ... breathing. "It's been a long few days." She walked beside him. "The council wants to offer you a position. Chief of Galactic Security." Kellen raised an eyebrow. "It sounds very ... loud. You deserve it." "I'm not the kind who wears stars on his chest." "Then what do you want?" she asked. He looked up at the sky dome. "A place where I'm needed. Quiet work, real work. No speeches." Leora laughed. "You are truly impossible, but useful," he added. She nodded. "Very." As they walked, Leora grew serious. "There's something I didn't tell the council. After your mission to the Hollow Flames ship, our scouts found one last signal deep in the void. A message. It said Phase 3 failed. Help. Begin final phase." Kellen's face darkened. "They're not done." "No," she said, "but they're running out of time. We have stronger defenses now. We have you." Kellen looked at her, not just me. "We have each other." For a moment, they stood in silence. Then Leora asked, "If the flame returns, will you still protect me?" Kellen gave a gentle smile. "Always." A few days later, a small ship prepared to leave Dravaxis. It had no royal flags or powerful weapons. Just a simple travel shuttle with old Earth parts. Kellen stood at the ramp, holding a small bag. Leora came to see him off, leaving already. "For a while," Kellen said, "there's something I need to do. A quiet station on the edge of space was attacked last week. No one helped them. I want to check it out." Leora sighed. "You never stop. If I stop, they win." She reached into her pocket and gave him a small silver pin. It was the symbol of Drovaxis, shaped like a star between two hands. "Take this," she said, "so people know who you are. I'd rather stay unknown." Too late, she smiled. "You're a legend now." Kellen took the pin and placed it inside his jacket. Then he looked at her one last time. You were wrong once, he said. About what? He stepped closer. About me being too small. She smiled. Yes, you're bigger than you look. They shared a final nod full of trust and unspoken friendship. Then Kellen stepped onto the ship, and the ramp closed. The engines hummed. The shuttle lifted off. Leora watched it vanish into the stars. Somewhere in deep space, a cold station sat in silence. Lights were dim. Walls were damaged. People looked up in fear as warning sirens echoed. Suddenly, a small ship appeared outside. It docked quietly, and a lone man in black stepped out, holding nothing but a scanner, a toolbox, and a quiet determination. No.
Army?
No backup. Just Kalan, the man who didn't need size to stand tall, because when the galaxy needed hope, humans rose not with strength, but with courage, cleverness, and heart.